Meeting is being recorded. All right. So, you guys, I am pumped about tonight. I've just had like chills and goosebumps thinking about it all weekend because we're going to be talking to Cami. I'm going to be basically just firing a bunch of questions at her. And I think her story is super, super important for pretty much any coach to hear, no matter what level of the business you're at, because we all, I feel like, put these, I don't know if you want to call them glass ceilings over ourselves. And we constantly are like, okay, but how do I break through? How do I break through? How do I break through? And Cami has officially like broken through hers this week. And so I want to just kind of unpack that, but just to kind of give everybody the background to this, if you could share, first of all, what you do professionally as far as like life coaching and all of that, and your then transition to sign up as a coach, how long you've been coaching, and we'll get to what happened this week a little bit, but just kind of like get us to this point right here, your mindset.
So I think we're at 2 or 3 years, 2 years, I think. 2 years consistently working out. And I initially signed up with Andrea saying, don't ask me to be a coach. I'm not going to do it. Just let me do this and we'll figure it out. And 2 years later, so I've worked at Capella University as an academic success coach for 2 years. So I work with graduate students on how to be successful in a graduate program and then transition those skills to life beyond grad school. So we talk about a lot of things like time management, mindset, who your support network is, and then the actual logistics of being successful. But in that time, I have been falling in love with Beachbody products, obviously, because I'm freaking out that my Recover is running out and I don't know when my shipment's going to get here, so I'm a little worried. But the whole time, there's been part of me that honestly, I have followed and unfollowed Beachbody people the entire time because there was something about it that called me to it. And there was this huge voice of fear inside of me that was always like, it's an MLM. And I had a really negative connotation with MLMs for a really long time. So there was always part of me that's like, no, you've been taught that these are toxic and bad and it's a trap. So no. And then there was also this really harsh judgment that I carried with it where like I had an idea that if you fell for MLM stuff, you weren't as educated. So I had this idea that if I went into it, people were going to perceive me differently. And so a long time I went in and out of it. And Tyler has on more than one occasion nursed me through crying over it and being like, it's okay. The world doesn't end if you don't want to do this. But I finally got to this point, and it's been a series of realizations time again, over and over, of me sitting down and coaching myself and journaling about like, do I really think people? So I'm talking about Andrea and Katie and Brittany and all these women that I've admired for so long. Do I really think that they are not intelligent? Because these are the people who have succeeded with it. And for me to be like, no, they're actually badass and killing it and making a huge difference. So the one truth I had to look through and crush that lie was to be really honest and be like, this is just not true. It's false and it's not what I believe anymore. So we had to shed one belief that way. Then I have always, my entire life had a super strong fear of money, of making money, of being attached to it. I was listening to a meditation the other day that just straight up said, you do not need to hoard money. And that's the energy I've carried with me for so long, where it's like, I'm terrified to spend anything. So I'm just going to hold on to it. And I'm going to be afraid of spending anything more than $20 because that I can manage. And I felt safe in this. But what I've worked to realize too is that while my comfort zone has served me in a way, it's also caused a lot of pain to keep me in that comfortable space. So being comfortable has just produced more anxiety, and holding on to that sense of hoarding has just produced more anxiety. So everything I've been doing for so long was just producing more of the same. And if I wanted something different, I had to think about how I was approaching all of these beliefs. And so for me, that meant actively meditating on what my fear of finances were, which part of it, and the beauty of what happened in the last couple of weeks, I texted Andrea about, I loved Summit first and foremost, which was huge for me. And suddenly everything became possible. But then I was listening to a meditation that walked me up to a waterfall that I was visualizing. And when I stuck my hand in it, gold coins and rubies and emeralds and diamonds came pouring out of it. And so here I was laying after a workout with Beachbody on my basement floor, listening to a podcast tell me that I can create and come back to the space I've created to find the team. And that's not what I was saying, but what I was hearing is I have the ability to create the finances that I want, the team that I want. I am in the position of power to do that. And all I have to do is shed the crappy beliefs that have kept me where I am for so long. And so I did that. And what I've been seeing has been pretty incredible. You're muted, Andrea.
Professional. So I have known Cami, I think, almost a decade at this point.
Yeah, easily.
And she is somebody that, number one, I've looked up to, even though she is younger than me. She is a powerhouse. She is brilliant. She is an extremely hard worker. And so I know all of these things about her. And she, like she said, when she signed up, she's like, don't ask me to coach. I'm not going to do it. And I was like, okay, I won't ask you to coach.
Okay.
I'll just let you fall in love with it on your own. And so for me to see this confident, amazing, vulnerable, beautiful woman struggle with her own mindset on something that I know fully well that she is capable of doing. As a coach, I mean, we're all coaches here and we're all going to have customers that you can see so much potential in. Like, to see this actually happen in real life before my eyes is like the best part of being a high school math teacher, like all rolled into one like incident, you know, like when you see that light bulb come on, you're like, oh my gosh, she gets it. It's the best. It's literally the best. So over these last 2 weeks, like, Cam has just totally leaned in and seen in herself what I have seen the entire time. And so if you could just kind of unpack, like, I know there's not going to be a magic. We're not going to leave you here with like, if you do these 3 things, like every single human has a different set of self-limiting beliefs that you have to tackle head on. And she finally like leaned into like the right ones that she was able to just be like, no, this is BS. So if you could just like kind of unpack that, and hopefully the people listening to this are going to be able to take at least one piece of it and be like, yeah, no, I need to shed that too. That would be super helpful.
So a big part of it for me was that I got really tired of being ashamed of myself and being disappointed in what I haven't done yet. And I got really tired of watching stories and being like, I just wish I could do that. And I wish I could be like her, and feeling shame, like I totally could do that. And why haven't I? And being disappointed that I haven't. And I got really tired of feeling that way. And the only way to change that was to start doing it and to dive in and be like, okay, well, if that's what you want, clearly it is, because you keep getting called back to this. Why are you not going headlong into this? And so regardless of what it was, but in this case, it was coaching. It was like, if I don't want to feel that way, I'm either going to have to release this and release that pressure I have for myself, or dive into it and know that this is not going to be, and I say this to myself every single day. I'm not kidding. This is not a 7-day game. This is not a 7-month game. This is 7 years. And so what I'm seeing in 2 days isn't going to be everything I've ever imagined. And if I'm expecting, and if I'm putting pressure on one person, one connection to create like coach, team leader, participant in every one of my groups, like that's way too much pressure to apply to one conversation. So it starts there and it becomes one, but this is a long term. And if I want it to be long term, it has to be framed that way. So I take pressure off me. I take pressure off every conversation I have, because like Andrea said before, it's supposed to be fun. And we're supposed to be enjoying this and being in the flow, as Andrea and I have talked about, but being in a space where you can genuinely show up and share is less about like force, and which is what I've been struggling with for so long, is frustration and force. I'm like, how do I get this to happen? And feeling like I'm just shaking this cell that I've capped myself in, and just being like, it'll come. I'm just going to release. I know that with consistency and with commitment to this and showing my own results, it'll come, because everything that I wanted before, and it has come to me in one way or another. And if it didn't, it turned out that it was a pretty good thing it didn't. So it's always when I can look back and see, especially with the financial fear of like, I have been afraid of money for so long and felt like I needed to hoard it. But looking back on my life, have I ever come up short? Have I ever not been able to pay my bills? Have I ever not been able to just buy what I wanted? Yes, I've always been pretty frugal as is, but like I've never not had what I needed in the moment. So why do I feel like it's just gonna stop? And I'm in a job where I'm getting paid every 2 weeks. So like that's gonna continue. That's not gonna stop. So why do I feel like at any moment everything is just gonna fall away from me and I'm gonna be screwed? Or the fear that I've had that I'm just going to wind up in federal prison somehow. Like that has been a defining one for me for a long time. It's not going to happen that way, but that's what the fear has talked to me for so long. So how can I love on myself first and love on me enough so I can love on other people? So how can I start internally to ease some of the anxiety and fear that I have so I can do the same for other people? And it starts with those major root fears, which were, I'm never going to have enough money, so we're going to hoard it. And I'm not going to buy into things that could yield more money. And the other being, I can't figure this out. I don't know how to do it right now, so I'm not going to be able to. This is frustrating. It's not happening. I'm not getting the immediate results. Impatience and distrust of the universe have kept me chained up for a really long time. And I finally just decided to let it go a little bit, just release. And
so,
then yeah.
So what were the actions that you started taking since Summit? Like, what do you feel like, what are the things that you're doing differently that you were trying to figure out for like the last year?
Yeah, actually, I thought about this. One, for me, guided meditations are magic. And it changes my mindset in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It eases my soul when I do that. So meditations are huge for me. But then two, I've identified my anxiety triggers or my anxiety times. So I have not been drinking or had more than one alcoholic beverage for this month, and I've never felt so good. Because I know when I have 2 to 3 more drinks and I wake up the next morning, my inner critic and my anxiety are attacking everything. So I'm not going to do that anymore. And I know that when it gets to 7:30 or 8 at night, I start convincing myself that Beachbody is not great and this is going to fail. And I'm tired. My defenses are down. So I'm going to go to bed. And in the morning, I'm going to wake up and believe in myself all over again, because that's just how it works. So I've identified when my motivation and my sense of self-esteem are at the lowest, and it's those two things definitively for me. And I've changed that, and I've recognized that one emotion is not going to determine everything. 1 hour, 1 day, it's not the whole story. It's just what I'm feeling in the moment, and it will pass. And then we can come back to knowing what we're capable of.
And so I think, as far as action wise, what I've heard from you just in our texting back and forth is you're like, okay, but I have this big fear around inviting and I don't understand how to do it without being gross. And like, this was one of your biggest hang-ups, because you're like, well, how do I do this? And it would always stop at sending the invite.
Yeah.
And so you just texted me the other day and you're like, I have 10 conversations going and I'm going to start some more. Like, how did that switch happen, like overnight?
I stopped. I took the pressure off. Honestly, I followed some people. I found something that we shared in common. I sent a message and I legitimately say, hey, I'm Cami. I like to make social media more than just like random strangers following each other on the internet. So are you open to chatting at all? And then I'll go into their feed if they respond and pull something and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. How did you do that? What inspired it? Or, hey, I see that you're a reader. Like, what are you reading these days? I love books too. Or I just followed a girl and started chatting with a girl who's in the competition for Miss Arizona Teen, and Miss Minnesota was like a former mentor of mine. And I'm gonna chat her and be like, oh my gosh, I see that you're in this community. I know Ellie, she's amazing. Like, how can I support you in this and love you in you on this? Like, finding something that directly relates to. So one, you're not just a creep following them on Instagram, and you've actually taken the time to look at their profile and comment on it and build a relationship off of that. So it's not going in to get somebody to join my team or to join my group. I'm going in to build a relationship with another human. And then they look at my profile. And I've gotten a couple times now girls being like, your profile is really inspiring. Like, this is really great. I'm glad you found me. So that mutual exploration of each other, and just by building a relationship initially without being like, hey, you want to join my group? Hey, random person.
Hey,
Yeah.
this is creepy. Yeah. So basically just choosing not to be creepy and to change the creepiness into curiosity.
Yes.
And being curious about other people, because the easiest thing for people to talk about is themselves, because it's what they know the very best. So if you're asking genuine questions, and especially with, you know, that situation with Ellie, I mean, I'm just starstruck with the whole thing just because she's from Red Wing, and
I know.
when I could jam about all that kind of stuff on the side. But so you have already sent out, just in this like short time, you've already sent out multiple share carts. As soon as your first coach signs up, we can make you Emerald by signing your husband up and putting product on his account. And so we've got a game plan. Like, this is happening. It's going to be built, and it's just so freaking exciting to like watch it happen. So do you have any final thoughts? Because I do want to open it up to see if anyone does have questions or thoughts.
Yeah, actually, I have a couple other notes. So one, you guys, I spent time and woke up earlier in the mornings to go watch the trainings in the back office. That's what I've been doing for a while to reframe a lot of how I was approaching things. And on the champions page, like, my latest approach to finding people came from the champions page. So I'm just using the resources that we have. So like, Andrea, I love you, you're great, but she's not the only person that can help us with this. We have so many resources that are available to us if you just go click play. Like, so much of this business is just like, go click play, watch it, work out, do the stuff. It's right there. And there are resources, and like, I've dug into what's available for how to offer programs, and like the images and the actual text that's in the back office for 645. You have a full month of posts literally laid out, like picture, text, all of it. And then they're like, here, just insert your own stuff if you want to. But like 2% of this, your Instagram page is what's you, and the rest of it you can just like alter to your own. And then I've been creeping on leaders, like elite coaches, enough to know that they utilize the same content that gets the most likes. So I'll see the same text on different pictures repeated over the years. And then also noticing patterns among the way elite coaches talk about how they're approaching their business. If you're just nerdy like me and you want to see how they're communicating stuff, it's all there. You just got to spend the time looking for it. That's it. I'm done.
So you actually bring up a very good memory for me, and another reason that I think you and I are so freaking similar. I mean, we're both Enneagram 3s, and we're doers. So when I first started, you guys, you need to remember, and maybe some of you don't know this, but I don't have an upline coach. In fact, the coach that I signed up with isn't even a coach anymore. So I got slid up to her coach, who doesn't actively coach. There is no one above me that's really told me how to do this. YouTube and searching up content is what taught me how to do this.
I didn't know that, Andrea. I was going to ask who your upline was. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I literally watched every YouTube training I could find 6 years ago when I started this, because my husband told me I had 6 months to do whatever I wanted to do to see if this could be like a thing.
Yeah.
I was like all in. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to figure this out. YouTube, literally learned it all on YouTube.
I've taken a lot of what I've learned from 3 years in a corporate setting and how they approach trainings, and it's the same thing that we do with Beachbody coaching. So like I've just taken what we do there and applied it into Beachbody. It's the same thing. So a lot of it in my mind, and this is just me speaking to the way my brain functions, is like, you see what I do at work, I see what my husband does as a salesman, and I'm just applying a lot of what he does in that setting to Beachbody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this isn't like a brand new thing. Like no one's trying to reinvent the wheel.
We're not reinventing the wheel. Yeah.
No. Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah. I always think demystifying things helps. So
absolutely. And just like you said, hearing it from a different perspective and just hearing it with using different words makes it click sometimes just like so much better.
Yeah.
Any other like clarifying questions you have, or you want to just pick Cammie's brain or anything?
Oh,
I will. Oh, go ahead.
No. I have loved Everything is Figure Outable. I love that book. And then I'm a huge Hannah Bruncher fan, who you probably don't know much about, but she is an author in her 30s, more speaking towards the Christian element of mental health and medication and everything. So I've loved her work. And then I honestly haven't read a PD book in a minute outside of listening to guided meditation and podcasts. So
you've been doing a lot of Champions Page. You've been doing more training style PD right now.
Exactly. Lots of actual specifically applied Beachbody development. Yeah.
You kind of got to go through those seasons of like training, empowerment, training, empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jess, you had a question?
Yeah. So one, say that name again, Camry. What was that?
Hannah Bruncher. I can put it in the chat here.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I have a hard time understanding last names. Like I work at the vet clinic and people say their last name. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna scribble on the book. Pretend I know your name. My other question, it's more like very specific, like about something. So what I was thinking about was, like you said, you started 10 new conversations and you've just been figuring this stuff out like in the last couple of weeks in Summit. Like I have a lot of conversations with like moms, parents, like, and I have really learned to love social media and getting to know people. But like, how do you transition that in like conversations, like when you're just like, hey, I want to chat right like about life with people? How do you transition that into like, oh, you would be like love Beachbody, or would you?
Yeah. So sometimes I've looked at their Instagram and found a picture that directly relates to their wellness or health journey. I'll send that into the chat and be like, tell me more about this. Or honestly, a question I've been using that helps a lot is like, you sound really busy, or, oh my gosh, it sounds like a lot. How are you caring for yourself in the process? And then that veers into, I need to practice more self-care. And then this is also too like heavy on the coaching side of things and less on the sales. So coach them into or on their mindset around how they're spending the time and how they're taking care of themselves. And then insert, by the way, and this is what I got from Andrea, is like, if you're ever interested, I'm an online health and wellness coach. And if you ever want to chat about my groups, love to do that too. So you just like drop it. And it's not all about, what'd you say?
Plant the seed.
Exactly.
Sometimes it takes 3 years to harvest it, but if you plant the seed and if they're like, man, no, I don't need any of that, but they still follow you, they're still interested. They're just not ready.
Mm-hmm.
And like Cammie said, like taking the pressure off, I think that's huge. Like if it doesn't feel like it could easily transition into health and wellness, don't, because they're watching your stuff and they're watching your stories and they're going to see that you can offer something to them. So you don't even have to necessarily ask if it doesn't feel like it's going to be
right.
Good.
That was a big talking point in Angie Belmar's training from Summit too, where she's like, do not force it. You do not force it. You do not force it. And also, I'll tell you guys exactly. I have like 870 followers right now, but I've never had that number before. Like I've never been to that number in my time on Instagram, and it's because exactly what I did. And you can get it first since you're watching. So I went to I don't know if you've heard of Pink Lily, but it's an online boutique out of Kentucky, and they have a huge following. So I went into their followers, and I've literally been following like 50 to 100 at a time, clicking through, and then starting a conversation with the people who follow me back. And I'm seeing, even if those people aren't initially responding to my conversations or following me back, I'm seeing new names popping up on the people who have viewed my stories. And that's translating even to newer people who I didn't even reach out to, who are following me. So my followers and my network is growing just because I'm actively participating on Instagram. And the best way to make people notice you is like when they follow you, to go in and like 6 of their pictures and comment on a few, because you'll be the first 7 notifications, and they'll be like, who is this person, and come and look at you.
Just one thing to be careful of, because it's happened to me 3 times. You can get an Instagram jail if you follow too many people too quickly. So if you do them in smaller,
I haven't hit that yet. Yeah.
Do them in smaller batches, because you don't want to be in Instagram jail where they don't let you do anything for a week.
Yeah.
It's brutal. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Just maybe do it in smaller batches throughout the day. And it's a good idea to do that. I haven't done it in a while, so I should probably go back to doing that, sprinkling that in.
I'm also finding that people are not, and this isn't surprising, but like aren't as rapidly communicative over the weekends, which is normal. But
that is a good point to bring up, because that can get discouraging too if you're like, why isn't anyone doing anything?
Right. They're also not on their phones.
Maybe we shouldn't be.
Yeah, right.
Anything else?
It's a journey. You just got to figure out what you're afraid of, get really honest with yourself, and then ask for help or just rethink things a little bit.
It helps to talk it out with trusted friends.
It does.
Well, thanks for being here live, you guys. I really appreciate it. We are going to try to have team calls every Sunday. They may not always be at 8 o'clock. Sometimes they'll be a little bit earlier. Sometimes we might even do like a midday one. We'll try to mix it up, but we decided to kind of combine forces with the leadership on this team and all do them together. So we'll be kind of trading off who's hosting what, but we would like to spend more time virtually with all of you, because we got really spoiled this summer seeing all your beautiful faces. So this is the next best thing. And Tammy, thank you so much for sharing your heart and being honest.
Yeah.
Thoughts. And we'll see you on social media.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.